in Vietnam and US. Today we have a chance to discuss about the Hautou practice. And today we will focus on how to practice and the original teaching from the Hautou. And there are different branches of branches in the Hautou or the Zen tradition. And back in the time in Vietnam, there were different people. They even in the imperial government, they actually practice the Zen, but they were holding on the positions in the government. Because of their deep influence in Buddha Dharma, especially in the Zen tradition. And from that time up to this modern day, our time, we influence a lot from the material world and technology. And we easily get distracted by the material world, and it's very different from the old time. And we don't really take the practice seriously compared to the ancient time in Vietnam. And we may not consider practice as important. And if we don't take our practice seriously, then maybe we not continue to carry on this tradition. And we may not help the patriarchs, continue carry on this Zen tradition. So therefore, I think this kind of classes that we having right now is very critical. It's very important to have because this help to correct the practice for practitioners, and also help us to release our suffering while we're in practice. So in this kind of classes, we basically share the foundation of the practice, and we able to correct our path. And basically everything is based on our own practice, our own experience, from the senior practitioner to the beginners. So that's how we able to follow the guidelines. So when we talk about the Hautou practice, it's based on the trust in the mind. Trust in the mind is just within our own self, not from the outside. And when we say, trust in the mind a lot, but we still really don't understand truly what it is. And when we really truly understand trust in the mind, then we can follow the guidelines of the patriarchs. And we're able to go directly into our original mind. So the reason the Buddha was born, uh, because he was one to guide all sentient beings going to the right path. And because of sentient beings have different levels, so therefore the Buddha had to create different levels uh, of teaching and practice. But eventually, at the end, um, all sentient beings, all practitioners, they have to go to this door of doubt, because doubt is going to lead us all the way, and it's going to help us, all sentient beings, achieve the Buddhahood. So the highest Buddhahood. And the teaching here is non-dual. And we still use the words to communicate, but we need to let go of the words. So the first door is to let go of the primal ignorance. And some practitioners have been on this path for a very long time, listen to the teachings and all explanations, but some not able to truly understand that different, words in the Zen. Uh, di- Although they say different words, but the same meaning. But at the end, we need to uh, arouse the doubt, because if without arouse the doubt, we're not able to return to the self nature. And when we ask the question and arouse the doubt, that is basically the right path. But we're not gonna suppress or use the Hautou question to suppress our thinking mind, or push away our thinking mind, or run away from our thinking mind or worldly things. So this teaching is basically my, still my. So like the Buddha when raised the flower in the Volchepik assembly, and only Mahakasipa understood what the Buddha tried to teach the assembly in the assembly. So it's basically from doubt, from great doubt to awakening. So the great doubt here is go beyond the thinking mind, the seeking for knowledge or understanding. So otherwise, we're gonna fall into the skeptical doubt, and skeptical doubt is not gonna lead us to awakening. So we need to ask the question sincerely, like before the heaven and earth came to existence, what was I? And we not recite the question, the Hautou question, but when we ask the question, we gonna direct our mind to really don't know what is it, and we try to understand, but don't know is there, and that is create this energy of the great doubt. So for example, in the worldly life, if we lost our purse or wallets, and we're gonna ask ourselves like, where was the last time I left the wallet or purse? Where? So basically, this question is gonna lead us to find the purse or the wallet. So that's worldly. But for our practice, you're not gonna find out the Hautou question, the answer. You, impossible. But it's basically gonna help us to create the doubt, the don't know energy, and continue to increase that don't know mind until you break it out. So because of our uh, energy of determination to resolve this birth and death, and we keep going, asking the question. So here in this environment, in this Zoom class, we're gonna listen to the explanations of the Hautou practice, and we're gonna share the experience from the senior practitioners and the beginners. So basically, we're gonna uh, enrich ourselves in this practice by listening to the wise teachers' explanation. So from there, we're able to understand the difference between um, asking the question, the method of asking the question, and raise the doubt. And when we raise the great doubt, we not be able to know. And it's gonna be this strong energy of great doubt, and it's gonna lead us to go beyond the duality. We won't be able to figure out that, oh, we have discursive thoughts or not. So we keep going with the question. So as we practice this, we're gonna release or reduce the energy of for as such, or suppose things happen like this and like that, because our mind, loves to create that suppose. I suppose to do this, I supposed to do that, or things supposed to be like this and supposed to be like that. So this practice eventually is going to lead us to realize the true nature of everything. So when our minds allowed to abide into the duality, then it's gonna basically help us to stay in the worldly, but it's not gonna help us to find our realization. So that's why we need to practice this correctly. And eventually you're gonna able to taste the true Zen out of it based on our own experience. And when people, chase after the word, like I just said, the taste, the experience, then practitioners, maybe go after that experience, or go after that taste. So all the words, uh, been spoken is just a skillful way, to express so that we understand, but we should not mistake that the finger is the moon. So we should be careful about this. Because of our self-attachment, very smart, very, we usually get caught, in words, in whatever people try to explain to us. So therefore, there is a word that we need to remember all the time, is always considered Hautou. So there's this words that we need to remind ourselves, because the Hautou is the head of the word, the head of the thought. And right now we're not there yet. We're not at the Hautou yet, but we at the end of the Hautou, which is we asking. But eventually, when you ask the Hautou question with the great doubt, it's gonna lead us all the way to the head of the original of our ignorance, or the head of the thoughts and our speech. So this is gonna help us return to our self nature eventually. And when we reflect our words or the sound, with the Hautou, it's basically gonna take us to the primal words or thoughts or ignorance. So this is where all the affliction, uh, conflicts, sufferings create. So the worldly understand is based on duality, subject and object. Everything from karma, um, our known, from our world, animal world. So based on the duality, subject and object. But when we discover our own Buddha nature, we able to discover the all known of the Buddha. So in the in the Diamond Sutra, that's saying that when we use the worldly known, that is the known of suffering, the known of worldly, the known of duality. And when we use the sound, the form to understand the Buddha nature, then we go into the wrong path. So basically, in our practice, we are practicing the Bodhisattva practice. We listen to our own original nature by asking the question and create a great doubt, and eventually you're gonna return to the original mind. So all of this different skillful means, but this skillful mean of Hautou is basically we're gonna ask the question and rouse the doubt. So so we need to just focus, ask the question clearly, wholeheartedly, sincerely, without changing, non-changing, non-change. Like when you look at the big river, even though on the surface it's very still, right? But deeply under the river bed, the water really flowing strongly. So that is the same thing with our practice. We're able to see that, you know, even though right now on a superficial level, on the surface, we're not maybe able to see a lot of things going on, but underneath our mind have a strong current of the ignorance, a lot of self attachment, and so on going on. So our practice is not just, you know, on the form, right? We look at from the superficial level, but we have to deep down in our own mind. We have to use our practice, and it's gonna eventually alleviate all the primal ignorance sufferings underneath eventually. But we're not gonna use subject and object to eradicate, you know, all those. So through our practice, it's gonna help us uh, slowly create this great trust in the mind, and we walk with the correct guidelines from the Zen tradition. And the great doubts is going to help us to automatically release our karmic energy. And eventually, you know, it's going to take us to the original mind. And that is like saying in a Zen tradition is when you automatically cut the um, original ignorance, return to the original mind. So this is just a skillful mean to say that, you know, when we woke up from the nightmare, the dreams, the illusion. So we should not get caught in this saying. So it's just a skillful mean to help you understand. So all the Buddhas or the patriarchs, they create all the skillful means, and then they cut off. They destroy the words, the skillful means, so that the practitioners, they don't get caught in their skillful means. Just like, people attached to the finger but not the moon. So therefore, the Buddha and the patriarch, they gonna cut off the skillful means when they're done. So when we talking about this false mind, there's 50 scenarios in a false mind. And so when we direct our mind return to the original mind, eventually it's gonna self cut off the ignorance. And this is also basically help us to self release all the attachments. So the teaching in the prajna also help us to truly understand this practice. So when we talk about consider Hautou, or raise the doubt when asking the question, when we asking the question, and it's the same thing as asking the question and consider the question, the same thing. So when we have great doubt, that means we are already consider Hautou, or asking the question. So when we use the thinking mind to say that, oh, I understand this, I have this, I got it. So but actually we are suppress the thoughts, suppress our thinking mind, but not actually raise a doubt. And maybe we experience this tranquility, very peaceful, but actually, we go on the wrong path. We're not able to rouse the doubt, and that create a lot of problem later on when we not asking the question. So here we wanna talk about a few points that we usually get stuck on the path in a practice. So we should rely on this important points or the guidelines, so that way we able to avoid a lot of issues on the path. So the Zen master Chung Fong, he said that we need to have our Dharma, true Dharma eyes, and very deep clarity in reasoning, and our strong belief in the practice. And all the practice gonna direct to our self nature. So that's why we need to have this great trust in ourselves, and our self nature is non-dual. And when we recognize that the mind that you have somewhere to abide in to, then we are on the duality. And the third patriarch say that, when we have a great trust in the mind, but we still have this duality, then that's not great trust in the mind. And so sometimes we talk about this practice is sounds very contradict, one from one to the other. So because of our false mind, we recognize that. But when we truly understand, we're gonna just take the meaning of it and direct our mind into the practice. And we basically ask a question and raise the doubts, keep raise the doubt. And we don't need to distinguish, there's something to gain, something to, we achieve from it. And when our mind fall into one of that thoughts, that is the thoughts, that we need to recognize, we need to aware, so then we can direct our mind back to um, asking the question and raise the doubts again and again, over again. And if not, then our mind will easily get attached to this, and we wrongly admit, this is the true teaching. So our mind, our practice, we need to um aware of it, because otherwise, we're gonna mistakenly say that, oh, I am good at this, I am achieve it, I got it, and but actually we don't, because it's just a false mind saying that, and it's coming out from our own ego. So we need to be very careful about this, and otherwise, we have this fall form, and the form here, coming out from our showing, and that is something that is not right. So we need to um not consider about the form, either. We just ask a question. And sometimes people, they um don't mind about the form. From outside they look very very, very normal people, they're not even the Zen master. and and sometimes, people uh ignores, those folks, they have deep practice, but they ignore the form outside. um so when we focus too much on the form, then we're not able to uh direct our mind. And our practice is not about, try to um becoming the Buddha or the patriarch. We're not abiding into the form, the form of practitioners or the form of non-practitioners. So um in the Diamond Sutra say that, if we are abiding into the forms, then that's not the direct, not the true Dharma to practitioners. So that's what I want to share with everyone today, in the morning, and the people in Vietnam. So at this time, if you please share your experience, or you can also ask the question about your practice. So at this time, please go ahead. Dear Tay, dear practitioners, I would like to ask you this question. My first question is, I want ask about a question about the practitioner. Um, the senior practitioner, um, the say the difference between the skillful practices and the non-skillful practice. The self-attachment, the subtle attachment, and the coarse attachment. So when the one who doesn't know what he or she talking about maybe mislead the practitioners. So every words they spoke maybe mislead and create more misunderstanding. So the teaching of the by the Buddha. So the skillful teachings and the absolute teachings. So there are 84,000 Dharma or teachings. So that they basically help the practitioner, lead the practitioner to the path, and able to control their own mind, control their own habits, their karma. So this is coming from the skillful means practice. So how they able to deal with the suffering in the world by using the teaching of the Buddha. So basically uses teaching to confront all the suffering, all the problems in the world. Because our mind, our false mind, always attached to either the teaching based on the skillful means, they're able to use that in a skillful way. But when the practitioners use the absolute teaching, they may be able to use that teaching direct their mind go to the original mind. So the teaching sometimes is depends on what conditions or what level the practitioners they at. So if they really trust in their own mind, then they're able to go directly into the absolute path and the non-door. So this non-door is go beyond the subject and object. But most of the skillful means or the skillful practice, there are different doors, and they have different ways of practicing. So the absolute tradition is based on non-attachment, like the void. Right? The void doesn't have any doors or any attachment to anything. So that is our original mind, like because it's non-attachment. It's non-abiding, non-limited. Because our original mind is go beyond the limited, and non-possession. And when we have the subject and object, that's when we in the practice of something to gain, something to seek. So when is the non-abiding, that is then we on the path of the void, the emptiness. And when people they don't really know that, so we don't have to argue with them. And if they really truly understand the absolute teaching, then they shouldn't, argue or discuss about, none of this. It's because it's nonsense to discuss about it. Because of our attachment to the emptiness, a lot of people they fall into this. So because of our own ignorance, right? Because we attach to this emptiness by ourselves. We mislead ourselves. We misunderstand ourselves. We misunderstand the teaching, and we just abiding into this emptiness. And all the practitioner, most of us, we have this false minds, and that is create the false understanding of the emptiness. So when we leave our practice, when we not asking the question and create a doubt, and then our mind is automatically falls into the ordinary mind or thinking mind, and we're gonna create a lot of false thinking. And let's say when we say that, oh, we cultivate or take a vow of the body mind, and when we say, oh, I'm taking this body chitta mind, then the true meaning of the bodhicitta mind is basically non-attachment, but pervade, to all sentient beings. But we mistakenly, think that, oh, the bodhicitta mind is just about me, my, I, all the time. So that's why we easily fall into the false mind. And we need to distinguish clearly between the skillful teaching traditions and the absolute teaching tradition. So that's the first part of your question, because maybe people, they haven't got the true meaning or truly understand the teaching, so they fall into the arguments and discussion. And the second part of your question is, can you remind the second part of your question, please? Oh, the attachment of the subtle and the coarse. So the attachment of none, or attachment to the emptiness, this is worse than you attach to something being. It's like, this is question about being and non-being, and people, that if they attach to non-being, is worse than being. So the subtle of so the subtle level of attachment, sometimes we lost and we don't even know that we lost on the path, and it's create this, super ego underneath. So the subtle sometimes it's very dangerous. In the Sugama Sutra, when the mind direct to the quietness or tranquility, and the Buddha said that, even you release all the known understanding and all the skillful, and direct your mind to this tranquility, quietness. So that is not what, the true practice is gonna stay on, because you're gonna attach to this tranquility, quietness, and your mind is gonna love to fall into that state of mind all the time because you want tranquility, you want tranquil your mind, you have this quietness in the mind, but actually that's not it. So that's because this subtle uh, understanding or practice, or you allow your mind abiding into that, it is very dangerous. It's worse than, you attach something that is coarse, COARE, RSE. So we should not abide into that emptiness, false emptiness. So did my explanation make sense? Yes, thank you. So next question, please. So please ask the question so our teacher can explain. So Mr. Kongbin, please go ahead. Namo Sakyamuni Buddha, dear monks and nuns and all Zen practitioners. Can you hear me clearly? Yes, thank you. I'm gonna share my experience, so I hope you can explain more and help us all. When I study Buddha Dharma, when our mind have this discriminated quality, distinguish between this and that, it has very strong distinction. So when we confront in the in our own practice, and all sentient beings afraid of the birth and death, but to the bodhisattvas, they don't afraid of this birth and death because they know how to use the birth and death uh, in their practice. So just like, if we are able to use that way of thinking of the bodhisattva uh, in this practice, and we're able to um, truly understand the um, listening, uh, correct view, and understanding. When we thoroughly understand this already, and how come we not truly invest into this practice, and get used to it, get used to this practice, because without this practice, and how can we truly understand our own practice, and how can we understand whether our practice is going the right way or the wrong way? And when we practice this, we let go of the this life, basically. But we still somehow attached to it. We're not able to let go of that sacrifice, and we attach to that known. So can you explain more for us? Thank you so much. Thank you, Brother Kongbin, for sharing your understanding. And when we use the knowledge or understand of the Bodhisattva, understanding, listening, and right view. So basically, we need to direct our mind to the body, the root of awakening. So listening is a skillful mean. And when we don't understand, we're gonna allow our mind to mistakenly the meaning of it. And when we say, oh, the Bodhisattva vow has that we need to direct our mind to practice. That is the Bodhisattva path. So in our life, if there are, difficult people, they challenge us in our life. So that is where we practice the quality of the Bodhisattva, that is patience. So in our life, we basically experience this all the time. So we should accept that, as we want to cultivate our bodhicitta mind, then we should be able to take on anything in life. So that's mean our life is basically the same. We don't have to change anything, but we need to focus on the practice, and it's gonna help us to release the subject and object itself. And when we just keep asking what is doubt, but we don't practice, then we not be able to truly understand the true doubt. So all the affliction in our life, hate and love, and all the dualistic thinking, or our dualistic phenomena problem keep happening in our life. So that is the worldly Dharma, and we don't have to make a difference between worldly Dharma and we try to solve them, but we just keep asking the question, going into the practice. And with all the worldly Dharma going on, we don't have to distinguish them. We don't have to distinguish between worldly and absolute. We just ask the question, and the asking the question is gonna end all the worldly thinking, the worldly suffering by itself. So it's just based on our own practice, and it will make everything clear. And it's gonna use the view, the listening, and understanding, the three qualities by itself with the practice. So the Kiến Văn Giác Chi, the view, the listening, and understanding, able to use in our own practice the right way, then they will become very helpful. And we get distracted by our worldly understanding all the time. So right now we just need to direct our our mind to the practice, and that is gonna resolve, everything that we need to release. So we don't have to use the energy to do that, but we just need to apply our energy into the practice. So we basically because of our strong determination of birth and death, and it's gonna help us. It's gonna lead us to the non-dual. So our practice basically is gonna help us to increase the determination of solving the birth and death. So that way, we don't have to deal with the worldly issues directly. I mean, we just ask a question and raise a doubt, and that is gonna help us release all that by itself. And when we say that we really trust in the mind, but actually not really, we easily get fooled by the worldly thinking, worldly energy. And sometimes we don't remember, return to the practice when the worldly take us away, and we completely forgot about the practice. So and we should participate in all this practice and Q&A, so that way we can support or support our own practice. So let's ask, just in 24 hours a day, and how many hours that you really focus on the practice. And even we focus hours of practice, but does our mind really focus on the Hautou or create the doubt? And sometimes we sit in a long practice, but actually we don't generate anything. So we need to ask ourselves, what are you doing, and try to make our practice be fruitful, but not waste our time. Otherwise we waste our own opportunity as well. So when we share something like this, it's very precious, because we able to help other as well, so they don't fall into this same hole or same mistake. So our practices go beyond the distinction, and everyone can practice it, as long we really trust in the mind, because this is about trust in the mind. So, and we need to use our effort. We need to put our diligence into the practice. So that's my explanation. I hope it makes sense to you. So does anyone have any questions?